All right, so we had the Eclipse Awards last week. Once again, shout out to Anthony and Aaliyah and Nathan and the editing team and Patty, even though she doesn't want to take credit for winning the Eclipse Award. You're taking this credit.
Right. She's only going to take credit when we win an Eclipse Award. She's not going to take the credit from the other way. Exactly.
How did I win on stage? But no, so shout out to them again. But I mean, unfortunately, I think the night was kind of taken over by the first acceptance speech, which was Mike Rapoli for Fierceness. It was like one of the wildest acceptance speeches you'll ever see. Any award show, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. I loved when they started playing him off, and he made his daughter dance to dance to the music so he could keep talking. Right. I mean, it went on forever, and it was rambling, with kind of like his Twitter threads that he's put out. And I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way. I like Mike, honestly. I personally, I get along with him. Like, we've had him on the old show, and I think overall he's very passionate about racing and is overall good for the game. But it's just like, I don't like these speeches where like he's shouting out other people, but at the same time making it all about himself. And I think that's like the base of this whole commissioner thing was like, yeah, I do think that he has the right intentions for the game, but I think also he wants to be the grand poobah of racing. And that's just the vibe I got from that speech. But just tell me some of your takeaways just from the whole night.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with the Fierceness acceptance speech, because again, that was something you just mentioned, and it was the first award of the evening. I think after the award was given, everyone had like a huge sigh of relief. Like, okay, good, we got that out of the way. Now we can go on and have our regular show. But, you know, last year, I remember Mike won the award and walked up there. And, you know, I know this is all sarcasm and everything, but he walked up there, and when they started to play the music to play him off, he walked over and threw $100 bills at the band, which, you know, up here, that's sarcasm. But everywhere else, that's just in bad taste. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really rude. It's a way of showing like I'm above the rules and I'm just going to throw money at this. Literally, throw money at this to make this go away.
Yeah.
So this year he wasn't quite as egregious, but as soon as he walked up on the stage for Fierceness's win, he turned the clock around. So that way,
that was kind of funny.
That way nobody could see. But that was his move, to be able to do it. And then he ignored the clock altogether after that.
Exactly.
You know, people are up in arms about the fact that he was cursing and his daughter was up there. I'm sure it's not the first time she's heard someone say "fuck."
Right.
Okay, let alone him.
Right.
So that really doesn't move me one way or the other. The thing that I was disappointed about though was here's a guy who wants to be commissioner. Okay, and had a Twitter poll of 40 people who voted for him.
Legally binding.
Yeah, legally binding. Exactly. That he is now the commissioner.
Yeah.
But if you're really going to be a leader of the industry and you're actually physically in the same room as the other leaders of the industry, you know, from the Jockey Club and the NTRA and a lot of the other alphabet groups, you would think that if you really wanted to get together and collaborate, that would be the week to do it. Mm-hmm. You know, that somebody would say, hey guys, let's all get in a room together since we're all here and kind of hash out how we can do this together. And I know, you know, Mike was saying all the right things, selfless over selfish. And, you know, let's get this game going, you know, from the inside out. But if you really wanted to improve the game and say, I'm going to be collaborative, then that is the perfect time to do it. And I know for a fact he was there for the majority of the week. So it wasn't like he flew in, you know, and then immediately got on a plane and flew out the next day. If really your goal is to bring everyone together, then that was the perfect opportunity to do it. And it was a missed opportunity. And again, as a person who normally is a pessimist, I would say that your real intentions aren't to get everyone in the room together physically or literally, and try to hash this out. It's to rise above and try to be, like you mentioned, the grand poobah of the industry. So that way people have to kiss the ring in order to get things done. And again, I agree with your sentiment. I think Mike is a hardworking guy. He's obviously, you know, a billionaire twice over. He's done tremendous jobs. And I know that, you know, he's a friend of my father's. So I always tread lightly, you know, about criticizing him. But I really feel like that if his heart's in the right place and he wants to make this industry better, then doing it collaboratively is the best way to do it, not throwing fits on Twitter when somebody questions, what your intentions are.
That's the thing too, is like you said, I think his intentions are good, but like a lot of times it's like a lot of words to like say not that much. Like we're still waiting for a lot of the specifics of the NTA and what he and Pat Cummings are really going to do and really try to organize to help the industry go forward. Because anytime I see criticism and it's from Tinky, like if Tinky's become like the horse racing Twitter celebrity now. Like he's gaining followers by the day, and so Tinky usually has these like very detailed and very smart commentaries on Mike and what he's saying and what he says his vision is. And then every time Mike responds to him, it's always some like iteration of, well, I got more money than you, or like I'm always on your mind, or something like that. Like this is, like you're saying, like this is a chance to have that collaboration, or at least have that dialogue with somebody who's also like obviously not the same stature as Mike, but makes good points and has thoughts about how to improve the game. Like to me, it's got to be more than talk and slogans and catchphrases, like the Titanic iceberg thing that he said in the speech. It's just like, okay, where are the specifics? And when someone calls you out and asks for the specifics, like you got to do more than just like throw a GIF at him, and
try to attack him.
See you later. Like I got to go on my yacht or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a chance to try to put your money where your mouth is. In a manner of speaking, because he's got plenty of money, and just have that dialogue and try to come up with ways to improve the game specifically.
And we'd love to have that kind of collaboration and discussion on this show.
Come on.
So it doesn't even necessarily have to be Mike. It's whether it's Pat or it's somebody from one of the other organizations, with the idea of how are we going to get people together? Because Patty reminded us this morning that one of the key components of us revitalizing this podcast was because we wanted to encourage people to have honest conversations, and we don't always agree with them, and you and I don't always agree, and that's actually okay, because that kind of fosters additional thinking and creative working together to try to bridge a gap and try to come together and have suggestions and make this industry better. Because at the end of the day, that's what I think everyone wants to do. Everyone wants to have this industry continue for decades down the road. And I don't disagree with Mike's sentiment about, that we're on the Titanic and there's the iceberg. And you could say it 15 different ways. It's true. But we have to, this is like kind of our swan song. We have to get our shit together. Otherwise, the industry's not going to be around for my kids.
I mean, I think we have all the same goals and a lot of similar ideas on how to improve the game. But you got to get down to brass tacks eventually and talk these things through specifically, and not just wave your hand and say, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. If somebody calls you out, dismiss them. Like, to me, that's been the issue so far with Mike and his Twitter threads and the speech and all that. I think he's got the right attitude, but it's just, there's got to be more, it's got to be enumerated. It's got to
be more substance. And you can't sit there and say, I'm going to go ahead and boycott sales, and then literally the next September sale buy $30 million worth of horses. But be that as it may, that was one takeaway from all the hoopla there.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's going to the notes.
I thought it was interesting that Up to the Mark won the won the Eclipse Award, and again the team went up there and Mike kind of dominated and took over the conversation. I laughed at the end of his speech on that one. It was not quite as memorable as the fierceness, but that horse Up to the Mark he owns in partnership with Vinny Viola. So Vinny was actually up on the stage. And again, Mike didn't give 1 second of airtime to anybody else to thank. It was his podium, to the point where when they all started going up there to accept the award, Mike's daughter walked up to the microphone and said, "Hello, everybody." And those were more words than Vinny Viola said in the 5 different Eclipse Awards that Vinny Viola has won. So, again, it's tough. It's tough. The other thing that I want to talk about was Stuart Janney's Merit Award.
Eclipse Award
of Merit. And I thought it was a really subtle dig that he had when he went up there and walked up. And the very first thing he said is, "I'm not going to abuse the 1-minute rule." And kind of looked over, and I don't know if he was looking over at Mike's table or not, but he made it a very specific point to do that, and then went on and rambled for 8 minutes. So, and I actually timed it. It was, if you look at the award ceremony, from 1 hour and 24 minutes to 1 hour and 32 minutes, it's Stuart Janney. And I even fast forward through it, and it was still boring and monotone. So it was just faster. But be that as it may, there's a lot of things that people can talk about whether or not he deserves to have a award of merit. Why this year they immediately wanted to make sure that he got the award of merit. It was very self-satisfying, I think, for a lot of the group. And I'm not saying that he does or doesn't deserve the award. But I know there are a lot of other people, in my mind at least, that would deserve it more. And I thought it was interesting. The last thing I'll say is I thought it was interesting also that he said, I sit in my house in Maryland and I look at the 2 Eclipse Awards that we've earned already, and they were both for Ruffian. And Ruffian was 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Okay. Which shows you how difficult it is to win an Eclipse Award. So the fact that you've won one and Patty's won one and we've won, that's a big deal.
Anthony's won 3.
3, exactly. Oh, sorry, Patty has 2. Excuse me. Sorry.
She's like, I don't want to take any credit, but I have 2.
Cut. Yeah, exactly. So he said, I thought it was funny. He said, I look at those awards with, I'm not saying, exactly, but I look at those awards with great pride, and he should. He very well should, because Ruffian was just a phenomenal, horse and part, athlete in our industry. Legend. But his next comment was, so this award, so Ruffian had those 2 Eclipse Awards, and I had nothing to do with those. Okay, which I understand he's trying to be humble. And then he goes, but this award fixes that, which basically means that okay, so now all the work and everything like that I've put into the industry, I'm deserving of this award that, oh, by the way, I think I'm giving to myself. So again, you're trying to be humble when you're winning awards. You try to thank all the right people and everything like that. I think that was where his heart was, but it just wasn't verbalized as well as I think he could have done.
John, John's getting spicier by the week on this show. I love it. No, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. And I think what we could all agree on is we need a hard time limit on these speeches, dude. That was the best year was the COVID year, and they had no physical ceremony. And Patty and I we had a little acceptance thing for our Eclipse Award, and they were strict. They were we were 55 seconds. They were nope, 45 seconds.
That's right. Cut it. Yep.
And which is fine. And it's just I don't know. There has to be like a clown that comes out with a cane or something and yanks somebody off
or just turn the mic off. Just turn the mic off. That's all.
Because
go from there.
It's just it's very emblematic, I think, of the industry where there's so many people that just love to pat themselves on the back.
Right.
And it's just this should be a night for celebrating the horses and the people behind the horses. And that's what you were talking about Bill Mott before.
Right.
Bill Mott's speech was short, sweet, thanked the right people, and got the hell out of there.
It was a minute long. It was perfect.
So this is just it's just a plea for me to please have a harder time limit on these speeches because it's unwatchable.
Right.
It's on whether or not I agree with what the person is saying or whether or not I agree with them getting the award. It's just unwatchable because there's just so much fluff in there, and it's otherwise a night that should be very celebratory.
Right.